Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
And I'm David Woldingen.
and it's time for us to preview Mizzou as they return home to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. Before we get into that, please guys go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, sign up for notifications for whenever we publish more content. Also, like us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on X. All right, you know, David, coming out of this Georgia game, it's there's a lot of ways to look at it. I think it's one, even though it was a close loss, it's Georgia. And that kind of makes it a little easier to move on.
Yeah, I'm looking at this just like we looked at the LSU game, in all honesty. You just 1-0, you got to move on. You're on the road at Georgia. I mean, you had to play a perfect game. You didn't. All right, regroup, move on. That's it. They did it after the LSU game when they played South Carolina. They can do it again.
Yeah, it's going to be a little harder this time taking on Tennessee. And, this is, it's an even matchup. There's a lot going on here. This is actually the first time since 1979 that Faurot Field has been host to a game between teams inside the top 16 of the AP poll. There have been, understand we're talking AP poll specifically, coaches poll, BCS, now the playoff rankings, all that. It's happened other times, but the AP poll hasn't happened in 1979. It was at 44 years. And it happens in an even matchup. Tennessee is 13, Missouri is 14. Both teams are 7-2. Both are 3-2 in the SEC. And Tennessee is a 1-point favorite pretty much everywhere, either 1 point or 1.5 points. It's very even, David.
Yeah, and Eric, I misspoke actually. After the LSU game, Mizzou played Kentucky, and that was kind of a revenge game for the kicked punt. So I could see Mizzou looking at motivation from last year's game when we got destroyed to turn it around again and, just turn the game on its head and do the same thing to Tennessee, or try to anyway.
Yeah, the last 2 years, it's been ugly for Mizzou fans. Josh Heupel has had his way and kind of named the score. And that's the biggest difference is now Missouri has a talented team with which it can at least kind of fight back. And that's the story really of the season.
If anything, we have an offense that can put up points and keep up with them.
Yeah, that's going to be the challenge for Missouri with Tennessee's offense. They've got the number 3 rushing attack in the season, one of just 6 teams in America to have more than 2,000 yards rushing. Only Air Force and Liberty have more yards rushing. They're number 3 in the country. And they've got a 3-headed monster out back there.
Really, it's 4 with Joe Milton, but their top 3 running backs have 400 yards or more, topping them all off with Jalen Wright with 826 yards. So, I mean, you got to be able to stop the run, and then to mix Joe Milton in there, who likes to run the ball a little more than Cook does. It's going to be an uphill battle for Mizzou.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference is you look at it and you say, oh, well, Cody Schrader's leading the SEC in rushing, and he is. Well, Jalen Wright is 3rd, but then the other 2 running backs for Tennessee are 16 and 17. They got 3 of the top 17 running backs. And yeah, it's very impressive. But I think if there is a short yardage play where they're going to run the ball late in the game and they need a first down, look for Wright to get the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah. Jabari Smalls and Dalen Sampson are the other 2 of the 3-headed monster, if you will. They both have split carries pretty evenly, and their yardage is honestly pretty even too. But you're right about Jalen Wright. He seems to be the one making all the big plays, averaging 7.5 yards a carry on the year. That's off of 110 carries.
Yeah, Jabari Small did not play in the UConn game. We've also were able to squeak by with a 56-point win without him. So it was an opportunity for him to get fully healthy. So not a concern there in terms of will he play in the Mizzou game. He's good to go. And you know what? Joe Milton, we know about him in terms of, yes, he has a rocket launcher attached to his right shoulder. Okay. We saw that in the game last year where he was just throwing the ball all over the place late in that game. He started off not, the numbers were not gaudy by any means. He's picked it up a little bit as of late as we've gotten into SEC play. I wonder if some of that is playing lesser competition. Let's just run the ball and get out of here. I don't. Either way, he's capable. He's not Hendon Hooker, but he is capable.
Well, and I think some of that is just settling into the system, establishing his role, managing the team. He has a 65% completion rate. To match the running game, he has 2,017 yards passing. And the other key is his wide receivers are there to help him. He spreads the ball around fairly well, with the leading receiver as Squirrel White with 557 yards. And then everybody else is pretty evenly distributed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of the go-to receiver there for the Vols. One more stat. When you're talking just to talk about how even this thing is, sacks. Both sacks, gotten by the defense and what the offensive lines have allowed. The Vols do a pretty good job of keeping Joe Milton upright. They've given up 15 sacks. Mizzou's given up 16 sacks, just one difference, one sack different there. And you look at the sacks got by defense. It's the same story. 30 and 27, and that could be a big factor. Is who does a better job keeping their quarterback upright?
Well, and just to throw one more in there, one thing Tennessee's defense does well is they stop the run game.
Yeah.
They're one of the top teams in stopping the rush, and they have one of the best tackle for losses in the league for sure. So Mizzou is going to have to find a way to move the ball on the ground. Otherwise, they become one-dimensional, and then Tennessee can just pin their ears back and go after Brady.
Yeah, if you want more similarity, both run defenses, top 25 in America. Tennessee a little bit better at 13th, Mizzou 24th. I guess you could caveat it with the whole LSU thing skews things. Well, I mean, you know what? They're still on the schedule. And it's getting late in the season, so that game doesn't have as much of an impact on the numbers as it would have earlier in the year. I think a big thing for the Missouri offense, Kirby Moore and just kind of designing plays and making adjustments is Luther Burden is going to get doubled. He was getting triple teamed against Georgia, and yes, he had the 39-yard touchdown, but they were able to, for the most part, keep him kind of in check. He didn't go off. And that's something that, Georgia's going to have an easier time doing that than anybody else because their secondary is elite. But I think you have to expect that the Vols are going to throw a double team at Burden. So I think it's really, really important for Brady Cook to have an understanding. Okay, where is this second man coming from? Where, you have one corner, and then is it a safety? If for some reason are you having an outside backer just taking all the short stuff? What are they going to do? Where is the open man? identify that. I think that's going to be crucial.
Well, and he should have practice now because South Carolina and Kentucky were doing the same thing to Burden.
Yeah.
The biggest difference is how quick can he make these decisions.
Yes.
Georgia had him under pressure a little more than we've seen. Although credit to our offensive line, I thought they did a fantastic job in that game.
Yeah.
But I expect the same out of Tennessee, to be honest with you. So he's going to have to be able to go through his progressions and find the weak points in that defense quicker than he was even in Georgia, because I know in the Georgia game, he missed a couple of wide open guys that could have led to first downs.
Yeah. I think you really need, I think you need Theo Weiss and Mookie Cooper to, step their games up even more. They have somewhat, but I think you need even more from them. Marquise Johnson, there was that stretch of 3 games in a row or whatever it was with a 40-yard pass. We need more of that. If we need to see that if this Missouri offense is going to be as explosive as it can, because he's the guy who can just take the top off the defense and maybe create more open space for Burden and maybe take that safety away, and Burden slips underneath and kind of negate the double team.
And I think some of that's on Cook having to make that decision to throw that ball, too. He has to have that confidence. One other thing Mizzou kind of got away from is they quit using the tight end, Brett Norfleet.
Oh, man.
Get the ball to him. And for whatever reason against Georgia, they decided not to use the middle of the field at all.
Yeah. Part of me wonders if that's Brady Cook just not feeling comfortable enough to chance it. That would be partially just because Georgia's defense is Georgia's defense, and they were all over guys. And it's a little bit different just because Georgia is the best team in the country, at least in my opinion. So, he's not going to have a harder time. And that's not a shot at Tennessee. It's Georgia's better, right? So maybe there's bigger windows, not gaping wide open guys, but bigger windows than against Georgia. And that could be a factor that helps him out in this game.
Well, and not to mention it's a home game, so he'll have the fans on his side too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that, maybe that'll help with Connor Tollison. Mizzou made it work with a couple of just, oh, look what I found. Let me throw to Theo Weiss. I don't know if Weiss is just the guy who reacted, but it was both times Brady Cook seemed to look directly at Weiss, and he was running just like, all right, the beginnings of a go route, but I'm ready to catch the ball at 10 yards or whatever. I wonder if they've got a play set up for when Tollison screws up the snap.
I don't even think that was the case. I think he just found the first down marker.
Yeah. Yeah, because Brady Cook's got the ball, immediately looked to Weiss, and just chucked it. So, we'll see. Hopefully that's not anything we have to discuss the rest of the season. Missouri cannot have things like that go on. Let's face it, they were super lucky that it didn't bite them either time.
Absolutely. Eric, what would your key to this game be?
My key is, you're not going to absolutely just shut down the Tennessee running game, but you have to be disciplined. And maybe I'm stealing your key, but discipline. Just kind of get in a position and don't try to be the hero with some gigantic hit. Just break down, make the guy start to stutter step and try to work a way around you, and then let your teammates come in and clean up the mess. And maybe it's not the 4-yard loss that you were hoping for, but it's also not a move right around you in a 9-yard gain. I think plays like that.
While I would say discipline is right up there in my keys, for me, it's third downs both on offense and defense. Mizzou's defense against Georgia again struggled getting off the field in third down situations. Some of this comes from like short down and distance, trying to stop a team like on a 3rd and 1, things like that. But Georgia, I believe, was like 8 for 11 or 8 for 12 or something like that on 3rd down conversions. At the same time, offensively, Mizzou was like 3 for 8 or 9 as well on offense, and really struggled because they had a lot of 3rd and longs. They have to find a way to shorten the field so they can get easy 3rd down conversions. That way you eat clock and you keep the momentum on your side.
Yeah, just to add on to your point, I think if Brady Cook is struggling like he did against Georgia, where the receivers are just not getting open or he's just missing guys, I think the play calling needs to shift to more first down runs and just take your chances. Just because 2nd and 8 is better than 2nd and 10.
Agreed. And shoot, if the offensive line played like they did against Georgia, those holes will be there. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, yeah. They controlled stretches of the game against Georgia, so I mean they are capable of doing it against anybody. Now,
So
David. Oh, go ahead.
No, you can.
Okay, yeah. Picks. This is so hard for me. Every game this season, I've known who I wanted to pick. And I knew it before we even started filming. I'm right here. I don't know what I'm going to pick. I'm going to make this up. I'm going to say 34-30. Yeah, what the heck? I'll go Missouri.
And I said to you before the video, pretty emphatically actually, and mainly because it's a home game. While these two teams are pretty much a coin flip stat wise, I think Mizzou is going to come out angry and ready to avenge that loss from last week. I think they're going to win 38-35, and I do think it's going to be a shootout between the two offenses. But hey, was it a top 16 game?
14.
Yeah, at Faroe Field. All I'm going to have to say is I'm going to sit back and
UBS
enjoy
in
the
town.
show.
First time since 2012 for anything besides the Arkansas game.
Right. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it, have as much fun as I can, and hopefully Mizzou comes out with a win. Until then, we're going to keep you updated with all things Mizzou, so stay tuned and keep updated with us. And also, don't forget to watch Missouri Tigers basketball play Memphis Friday night before the football game. Thank you for watching.